Welcome, travelers of Middle-earth. Have you ever wondered if there was more to Shadowfax than meets the eye? The great steed of Gandalf, lord of all horses, was unlike any other in Middle-earth. He was swift beyond measure, untamed by any hand save the wizard's, and bore a presence that seemed almost otherworldly. But could there be a hidden truth behind his nature? Some have speculated that Shadowfax was no ordinary horse, nor even a descendant of the legendary Mirrors, but something far greater. Perhaps even a Maia in disguise. Join us as we unravel the mystery of Shadowfax and his true place in the grand tapestry of Ardar. The tale of Shadowfax begins in the land of Rohan, where the line of the Mirrors was said to have descended from horses brought over the sea by the Valar themselves. These steeds were unmatched in their endurance and intelligence, answering only to the lords of the Mark. Yet even among them, Shadowfax was exceptional. As stated in The Lord of the Rings, he would suffer no harness, and he allowed no man to ride him save one. That one was Gandalf, a being far older and wiser than most suspected. But why would this singular creature, proud and free, submit to a rider at all? Was there an unspoken kinship between them, one Maia recognizing another? The nature of the Maia is elusive, for they are spirits of great power, lesser only than the Valar. While most assumed forms befitting their purpose, they were not bound to a single guise. Gandalf, Saruman, and the other Istari were clothed in the bodies of old men, sent by the Valar to aid the free peoples. But could it be that another Maia was sent, not in the form of a man, but as a beast? The thought is not without precedent. In the Silmarillion, Hwyan, the great wolfhound of Valinor, was granted extraordinary gifts by the Valar, including speech at his appointed time. Might Shadowfax, too, have been more than he seemed? If Shadowfax was indeed a Maia, his purpose must be considered. Was he sent as a guide and companion to Gandalf, aiding him in his task? When Gandalf escaped from Orthanc and fled across the plains of Rohan, it was Shadowfax who bore him with unimaginable speed, outpacing even the black steeds of the Nazgul. Could it be that he was more than a simple horse, but a guardian of sorts, bound to assist the White Wizard in his time of need? The timing of their meeting is curious, as if ordained by fate. Yet there are those who argue against this theory. The Mirrors were already creatures of great wonder, needing no divine origins to explain their might. And unlike Hwyan, Shadowfax never spoke, never displayed a will beyond that of an extraordinary animal. If he were truly a Maia, why would he not reveal himself more fully? Still, Middle-earth is a land of hidden wonders, and the greatest truths are often shrouded in mystery. Perhaps the answer lies somewhere between legend and reality. One of the strongest pieces of evidence supporting the Maia theory lies in the nature of Shadowfax's abilities. He did not merely run faster than other horses. He moved with an almost supernatural grace, needing neither whip nor spur. When Gandalf described him, he said, "He runs like the flowing wind, and his hooves do not touch the ground." Such a description brings to mind not the heavy gallop of mortal horses, but the ethereal movement of beings beyond this world. In Unfinished Tales, it is said that the Mirrors were not simply the products of breeding, but were gifted by Orome, the Valar who delighted in the hunt. Orome's steeds, such as Nahar, were radiant and otherworldly. Was Shadowfax then a direct creation of the Valar rather than a mere descendant of their gifts? Gandalf's bond with Shadowfax was also unusual. The wizard did not simply claim the steed. He won his loyalty through unspoken understanding. No other rider of Rohan, not even Theoden, could master him. When Gandalf first met Shadowfax, the horse was wild and untamed, yet in a matter of days, Gandalf had not only won his trust, but had seemingly formed an unbreakable bond. "He will come at my call, and if he comes, he will bear me away swiftly," the wizard declared, as if speaking of an ally rather than a mere beast. Could it be that Shadowfax recognized Gandalf not as a man, but as one of his own kind, a Maia disguised in flesh? If Shadowfax was indeed a Maia, the question arises, who was he before taking the form of a horse? The Maia were numerous, And though we know the names of some, such as Eonwe, the herald of Manwe, or Ose, the master of the seas, many others remain unnamed. Could Shadowfax have once been a lesser spirit who served Orome, dwelling in his company and running beside the great steed Naha? If so, his presence in Middle-earth could have been a final act of service, taking physical form to aid Gandalf in his war against Sauron. Perhaps, like Gandalf himself, he was sent with a purpose but constrained by limitations, forbidden to act beyond his appointed role. However, there is another possibility, one that stays truer to the established lore while still hinting at something greater. If Shadowfax was not a Maia, but rather a vessel of the Valar's will, could it be that he was guided by their unseen hand? The Valar rarely intervened directly in Middle-earth after the fall of Númenor, yet they worked through subtler means. Shadowfax's arrival in Gandalf's life was remarkably convenient, almost as if orchestrated by fate itself. In the same way that the wind aided Ulmo's chosen mariners, or the eagles came unbidden to rescue those in need, was Shadowfax merely a living manifestation of divine providence? Some skeptics might dismiss these theories as mere speculation. They would argue that Shadowfax was exactly what he appeared to be, the greatest of the Mirrors, but nothing more. And yet, Middle-earth is full of enigmas, where even the simplest things often conceal profound truths. If a lowly hobbit could carry the fate of the world on his shoulders, if a small white jewel could contain the light of a long-lost star, then why could not a horse be more than a horse? One cannot discuss the mystery of Shadowfax without considering the deeper themes of Middle-earth, themes of fate, intervention, and the unseen forces guiding the world. Throughout The Lord of the Rings, we see moments where destiny and free will intertwine, where seemingly ordinary figures are placed in extraordinary roles. The Valar themselves seldom took direct action in the Third Age, yet their influence could still be felt in the workings of the world. Could Shadowfax have been an instrument of this higher will, sent not as a Maia in disguise, but as a living embodiment of Orome's blessing upon Rohan? Orome, the huntsman of the Valar, was known to ride across Middle-earth in the earliest days, his great horn echoing through the wilds as he pursued the creatures of Morgoth. The Mirrors were believed to be descended from his own immortal steed, Naha, whose coat gleamed silver in the light, and whose hooves thundered like the rolling sky. Shadowfax alone, of all the Mirrors, seemed to carry an echo of that divine lineage more strongly than any before him. Was he simply the pinnacle of his breed, or was there something greater at work, an unbroken connection to the power of the Valar lingering into the later ages of the world? This idea gains weight when considering Shadowfax's apparent immunity to weariness. Unlike all other horses, he required no bit or bridle, and he rode tirelessly without food or rest, as if sustained by some unseen force. When Gandalf rode with him from Rohan to Gondor in Gondor and the 13 Horns, never pausing for sleep, never pausing for sleep. He is running now as fast as the swiftest horse could gallop, but that is not fast enough for him, Gandalf remarked, marveling at the steed's boundless energy. This trait alone sets Shadowfax apart from all natural beasts. It is almost as if he existed beyond the physical limitations of Middle-earth, untouched by the passage of time in the way that mortals were. And then there is the matter of Shadowfax's departure. Unlike most creatures of Middle-earth, he did not remain behind after the War of the Ring. Instead, it is written in the Lord of the Rings appendices that he passed over the sea with Gandalf, Frodo, and the other ring-bearers in the maps of the Third Age. This is perhaps the most compelling piece of evidence that Shadowfax was no ordinary steed. Mortal creatures, even the greatest of them, were bound to the lands of Arda. But Shadowfax, like Gandalf, was granted passage into the Undying Lands. Could this mean that he was never a mortal being at all, but a spirit? One that had fulfilled its task and was returning home? If this is true, then perhaps Shadowfax was not simply a Maia in disguise, but something even more enigmatic. A creature of legend, neither wholly divine nor entirely bound by the rules of the world. Perhaps he was the last living gift of Orome, sent to Middle-earth in its final struggle, carrying not just Gandalf upon his back, but the very will of the Valar. In the end, whether he was a Maia, a spirit, or simply the greatest of the Miraz, one thing is certain. Shadowfax was more than a mere horse. He was a legend in his own right, and his name, like those of the great heroes of old, will never be forgotten. In the end, the truth about Shadowfax may forever remain a mystery, much like so many wonders of Middle-earth. Whether he was a Maia in disguise, a direct creation of the Valar, or simply the greatest of the Miraz, his presence in the tale carries undeniable significance. He was more than a steed. He was a symbol of freedom, speed, and an unbreakable bond between wizard and mount. A companion who arrived at the moment of greatest need and carried his rider toward destiny. If we look to the heart of Tolkien's legendarium, we see a world where even the smallest choices and the most unexpected figures shape the course of history. Perhaps Shadowfax, like the eagles, like the unexpected courage of a hobbit, was one of those small but mighty forces, an echo of the divine will working behind the scenes. And in his final act, departing Middle-earth with Gandalf, he left behind a legacy not just as a horse, but as a legend, forever running free across the green fields of memory. So, was Shadowfax a Maia in disguise? The evidence is intriguing, yet ultimately inconclusive. But, as with so many things in Tolkien's world, the mystery itself is part of the magic. Some legends are best left open-ended, inviting us to wonder, to dream, and to believe that in some distant realm, a silver-grey steed still gallops faster than the wind, untamed and eternal.